Yeah, clarity. What's interesting is that I think confusion, lack of clarity
Mhm.
holds so many of us back from taking the next step.
Hello, I am Judy Marie. I'm the owner of Miracles of Health, and thank you for joining us today. And we have a really special treat for all of you. And if you would, please hit the like button and subscribe. We'd love to have this information shared out as many people as possible, and especially with what you're going to hear today from Julie Ciardi. And Julie, thank you dearly for joining me today. I know we've waited I don't know, a month or two, whatever, but I have no doubt this is going to be so well worth it. And I am very honored to have you here today. And Julie, you are a business coach, a mindset coach of helping women. Go ahead and describe a little bit more of your history. I love that you've come from corporate America, how your life has been transformed into what you're doing now.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I just love being able to share my story because it was other women's stories that helped me find the courage and the conviction to make a huge change in my own life. And it all was on podcasts. So I love to come on and share because that is how I got that courage myself. So thank you for having me. Yeah, I had that typical normal, I'm turning 50 this year. So, back when I was leaving college, I mean, there was no such thing really as entrepreneurship. It was, maybe if you had your own restaurant or hair salon or, someone that had the mechanic on the side, down the road, that was entrepreneurship. There wasn't what exists today. And so I did what probably most people did, picked a profession, went to school for it and, got my master's in business, got hired by IBM and being the, overachiever that I am, tried to grow in my career there. But in the 20 years in corporate, pretty much from day one, I knew I wasn't meant to be there. There was this pull continuously for 2 decades. You're not where you're meant to be. Sometimes this would actually come through another person outside of my own like knowing this. I'll never forget I was only I guess maybe 22 years old, fresh out of college. I'm in this like dark cubicle with my back to the opening of the cubicle, doing my work as best I could. And I hear this like knock and this woman's voice say, "You're not supposed to be here." And I turned around and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, am I supposed to be somewhere else? Like, what's going on?" And it was this lovely woman who was the executive assistant of one of the vice presidents. And she said, "I don't know. I just don't think you're meant to be here. You're meant for bigger things." And I really do believe that, God, universe, source, like we get these hits, right? Sometimes they're on the inside of us, sometimes they're coming from people around us. And really, from that point until, I was turning 40, it was a constant, you're not meant to be here. You're supposed to be doing something else. But I didn't know what that was. It was really scary. I was the primary breadwinner, 3 children. Doing anything different seemed like, I mean, it caused a lot of guilt. I said I should just be grateful. I should be thankful for where I'm at. I just was very much felt stuck, and it came to a head when I had my third child. I actually became a vice president at age 39 at IBM. And I was like, all right, well, this is it. This is what I'm going to be doing. I guess, those dreams of having my own business, we'll just have to wait. I've got to get these kids through college and all the things. And wouldn't you know, again, the universe, God comes into a way to kind of kick you in the butt a little bit. And I went from 20 years of mostly working from home, believe it or not. So I had the laptop life starting back in like 2000, 2001. IBM always kind of operated remotely. And so I got to go to my kids' plays at school and I went on field trips and I really was very, very involved in my children's lives, even though I had this big job. And wouldn't you know, after 20 years, they were making a decision to make everyone go back physically into an office. This was around 2016. Little did they know what was coming 4 years later with 2020. But they were like making everyone go back to an office. And for me, that was going to mean a 2 hour each way commute
Oh,
5 days a week, leaving my family. And I kind of went, okay, time to go. This is time to go. And I back in 2016, 2017, I made the big leap to, it took time from that point forward. Making the decision, I left IBM in 2018, mid-July of 2018. But I left, started my own business, and my number one goal has been the same since the minute I started my business to right now. How that's looked, what I've offered, how that's been structured has shifted, but it's always been the same theme. And that is to help women do the work they were meant to do in this world that lights them up, because I spent 20 years not doing that.
wow.
And that's been my mission, and that's still my mission today.
Wow. Oh my goodness. So you knew, like you said, after those 20 years, what the big goal was for you.
Yes.
But you might have changed some of the recipes, that go with that. Here's where I want to mention something. Oh gosh, you say clarity creates vision. Clarity creates conviction. I would love for you to go into that a little more, because this is what you're such a pro at helping so many women with. And I would love to hear this myself.
Yeah, clarity. What's interesting is that I think confusion, lack of clarity
Mhm.
holds so many of us back from taking the next step. I mean, it held me back for 20 years, right? I wasn't certain or have clarity on, well, what would the business be and how would it look and all of those things. And I think what I've really come to learn
Mhm.
is that confusion is just the polar opposite of clarity. It's the same thing. It's just on the other side of it, right? It's like dark and light. It's like clarity and confusion. And without first being confused, you actually can never get clarity. We almost want it to be like a light bulb moment of just total clarity, but it doesn't really work that way. And I think that we get stuck waiting for that like lightning to strike to give us the clarity. But what actually happens is, one thing I've come to embrace, because once you're an entrepreneur, you're always going to go in and out of cycles of confusion and clarity, confusion and clarity. Like it's not like all of a sudden you're just up here and you see everything clear and your vision is perfect and you're just saying, no, I've come to appreciate confusion because now I know that something big is on the other side of it.
Oh gosh, Julie, I love that. I love that. I've been in business close to 40 years. Okay. I,
Congrats.
I have, thanks. I have no plans to be nothing but an entrepreneur and a creator. Okay. But I'm so glad you're sharing that, because those cycles are very important, because when we elevate to other levels, there's a die off or there's such a change. And again, in paradigms, and I mean, on and on. Everything changes. Even your employees can change. We just do a clean out, clear up, and then here we go to something else that is more clarity for us. So I'm really glad you're sharing that, because people on the outside, here's what they do. They look in and say, "What are you doing wrong?" Okay, what they judge the tar out of change. And
Yes.
you are stellar at this with the change. And that doesn't mean we don't go through experiences in life that will help support our new magnetism of what's coming next. So
Yeah, it's so true. I'll say a couple things on that. Like,
yeah.
first, to kind of wrap up on the clarity piece, I think that we are so quick to judge whether something's good or bad, right? So, like,
Yes.
clarity is good, confusion's bad. No, it's not,
No, it's not.
right? the confusion to me, and it's funny, like it always, it like physically manifests like right here, like behind my eyebrows and eyes, like I am in this confusion and I don't call it bad. I just know that I'm going to go through my own process of intuitive insight and downloads and like guidance of like what the clarity will be. So it's like letting go of good or bad. And I think what happens to a lot of people is they get stuck in confusion and they stay there and they go, well, I just don't know. Like I can't tell you the number of women
Mm.
who get stuck in niche drama, niche confusion. They don't know what niche to pick. They don't know who they're here to serve. They get very confused in what they're here to offer and who they're here to serve. That instead of like going through the process to get to clarity, they just like, well, I don't know. Right? They kind of throw their hands up like, I just don't know. Right. And I think as Bob Proctor would always say, every time we say, I don't know, it's like a steel door, like you're like closing off all ability to get the downloads. And I think if the more people can embrace confusion, that's not a bad thing. And to trust the process, whatever process works for you to get to that clarity. And then the second thing about change and people judging and all the things, you better believe the second people heard I was leaving a very high paying career at IBM,
Mhm.
selling our house and downsizing so that I could leave that career to pursue my own business, people thought I went insane. Right. It's
Yep.
funny. I study human design, and in human design, around that point of 40, 41, 42, even up to 44, people will call it a midlife crisis. It's actually midlife creation. It's exactly how it's supposed to go down, but most of us don't answer the call, right? That happens around that time in our life. And so people thought I was insane for making that call. And even in my business over the last 5.5, 6 years, I have absolutely made, I don't even call them pivots anymore because they're not pivots. They're the next iteration, the next thing that comes, the next door that opens because of where I was, right? So it is such a process. I say you have to own your narrative so no one else can own it for you.
Okay, let's stop right there. I mean, you just put out a queen card right there. Go into that a little more because I love
Yes.
for people watching this, they've got to get this.
It's huge. It's everything because
Yes.
especially as women,
Yeah.
okay? Because do you know that I just heard today, and I'd seen this not that long ago. I had talked about it with my own clients, but like I think today or this week, it's like the 50th anniversary of women being able to get a credit card without an authorization from a man.
Today?
50 years. I'm turning 50 this year. That means in my lifetime, like that we
Oh,
really have just started, to be honest, of where we can go as women. Personally, it's how I feel. But that said, man, women are hard on each other, and a lot of the judgment I find comes from women, less the men. We judge and we make assumptions and all of these things. So, you know, when we are about to go do something pretty bold and different,
yes.
of course, it's human nature that we're going to have fear of what others are going to think about us or about that decision or whatever that may be. Are they going to talk about us? I always say it always comes down to like one or two people you're actually thinking about that are going to be the ones that might you worried or saying something. But what happens is that when you own your narrative, so if you think about it, if you make a decision, like let's say I'll use my decision of leaving IBM.
Mhm.
And if I showed up and told people, yeah, like, and, I was kind of meek about it. And, I was like, oh, I don't know. I'm hoping this works out. And I know I don't know. I don't know if it's gonna, I hope I didn't make a big, mistake with my family. You better believe other people are going to own my narrative, right? Can you believe she's doing this, right? I owned my narrative. Did I have it all locked in and know that everything was going to work out? No, definitely not. But I owned my narrative so that no one else would own it for me by really telling people, like, oh my God, this is the most exciting thing I've ever done. Do I have fear? Yes, but here's my vision. Here's where I'm trying to go. This is what I believe, right? And standing firm in my convictions, in my decision,
Mhm.
right? Because when we don't stand firm in our decisions and we're like wavering, that's when we don't own our narrative.
Mhm.
We can make a decision and still have fear. We can make a decision and still have uncertainty. But if we own our decision, we own our narrative. That's what I mean.
Well, that goes back to, I think, what you were saying about you get convicted and you get confident.
Yes. See,
You
the people
know,
have it backwards. They think they have to
yes.
be confident first.
Oh, yeah, that
Oh,
is so true. Yeah.
confidence doesn't come first. Confidence comes from the action. Confidence comes from stepping into it. So if you can own a decision, own it, self-responsibility, own the decision you are making, and really get convicted about it. Like
Mhm.
my convictions were so strong that I didn't want to work for someone else. I didn't want to have a calendar that was so full Monday through Friday that I could barely get to the bathroom when I needed to, that I was going to have so much freedom in my life. I was so convicted on that when I was leaving IBM. Did I have confidence yet as an entrepreneur? No. Did I, know how it was all going to play out? Absolutely not. But my convictions were so strong, and I was letting that be my guide, lead the way. And I would take the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step. And from that, the confidence flows. It doesn't come first.
No, that is such a good point. And the thing, Julie, that even though you were 20 years in corporate, it was perfect up until that last second. Like sometimes we're not really ready for the 180 to change in our life for whatever reason. Okay. Until that actual moment. And it might be leaving corporation. It might be a loss. It might be, I don't know what, but it usually comes up in when there is such a powerful mission ahead of us that is part of destiny. It could be that shocking. Okay,
Yes.
to every cell, every organ, all the vibrations, frequencies around of us, because we are breaking open, we are breaking through a DNA bubble. I'll just call it that. Okay, whatever that is, we're breaking all these paradigms, or we're on the journey to do that that have not been done prior in our lineage.
Generational shifts.
Yes, you
Things no one, I mean, I don't know about you. I didn't know
know.
anyone before me,
No.
doing the things that I was doing or am about to do. And so, yeah, I love that.
Except I felt unstoppable. There was a spirit in my in me and my heart that it just was not, and it still is not going to stop. You know, sometimes do you get down the other path a little and you scratch your head, oh, okay, no, not there, okay, let's go here, whatever. And that's where I want to talk about where you go into the niche. Okay, you
Mhm.
you bring up several things that uh, I'm I'm going to try to get as much of your information in here
Yes,
as we can because
yes,
this is
yes.
so exciting. And you talk about you are your niche. I'd love for you to address that. And the other thing is mindset is not a morning routine, meditation, inspiration, and motivation.
Yeah.
This is so cool.
Let's talk about the second one first, and then I want to go into the whole, I mean,
Sure,
niche. We all say it differently.
sure.
Let's talk about what mindset is. So what I think when I first was becoming an entrepreneur,
Okay.
what's fascinating is that maybe we're seeing some shifts now, but 7, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, when I was in corporate, I mean, no one really talked about mindset. And we definitely in the corporate world did not have the personal development resources and world that seems to open up once you're an entrepreneur, right? Like I happened to stumble across podcasts while I was still at IBM, and that was like the crack in the door that opened me up to, ooh, like I've read, some self-help books or self-development, but I didn't know this world existed until I became an entrepreneur. And then it's like personal development by fire in a beautiful way, right? But it doesn't exist so much on the corporate side of things. And so I came into this and I kept hearing it's all about your mindset. And you need to meditate every day, and you need to have a morning routine. And I can remember thinking, morning routine, okay, I'm an overachiever. Tell me what morning routine I need to have. And I think I read every book there was on morning routines. And I tried, the 5 a.m. club and Hal Elrod, all the different ones, right? And I'm like, okay, I'm going to try all these things. None of it worked for me in any way. It was all forced. I was all a to-do list to me. Oh, I got to do this, then I got to do this, then I got to do gratitude. Let's put that on the list, right? Like it became this thing I thought I had to do in the morning, this morning routine thing. And, or if you are listening to a podcast later in the day, that would maybe get me inspired or whatever. And I started to realize I had this like epiphany. And I think it was when I started to work with Bob Proctor, but it's this epiphany that, wait a minute. Mindset is not something we do. Mindset is not a morning routine. Mindset is not trying to get motivated and inspired. It's a way of being. It's a way of being. It's a way of operating in the moments of the day, every day. It's about being so present to that. And that was a big shift for me. And I let go of all that nonsense. I let go of what didn't work for me. And I followed my own inner authority of what did work for me. For me, because some people ask me this, I do get up early. It'll be somewhere between 5 and 6. And the first thing I do is I actually do work because my mind is so crystal clear and I get the best downloads and my best creativity early in the morning. And then after my youngest goes to school, I do an hour-long walk. That's my meditation. I have to move and meditate. I can't sit and meditate. It just doesn't work for me. I move. I get all these downloads. I feel so good, and then I get into my day. I think there's no one way. It's not you have to have a gratitude journal. It's not you have to meditate. You have to go do this. Find the rhythm of what works for you energetically and helps you get those creative downloads, helps you to become the version of you need to be to do the things you want to do, right? In life, business, and relationships. That's how I feel about mindset.
And it gives a person a starting point if they have nothing, though. If you give them some direction to start with
Yes.
something, if they have nothing.
Yes.
And then,
Yeah.
like you said, find your own
Find your
rhythms.
own energetically. It like you feel it. You're like, ooh, like I have one of my best friends in the world. She lives in California. We message each other every day. For her, it's writing. Like
Mhm.
when she gets up in the morning, she needs to write. She needs to download all these things, and writing really works so well for her. And so find the thing that works for you versus, this is the difference, versus someone telling you you should do this.
Mhm.
That's the key.
I like that.
Yeah. And then on terms of the niche, the niche, it's like the women that I mostly work with, they are services based. I don't really work with a lot of women that, have a physical product that they're trying to sell. I work with a lot of women where they are the product. So it's their services. They are a coach, a healer, they are, a marketer, whatever they are, it's their services. People are literally buying them, right? And here's the thing, you learning how to I could market this lip gloss all day long. Like it's so easy to go on. It's this is the color I love. It's like I could market this all day long. Women are really good at being able to share products and why they love a product and all of those things. The second someone has to talk about themselves in that way, the why work with me, the what am I great at, the how can I help you, the promoting of yourself, it can be really challenging for a lot of women. That is what it was for me. I found that in the last 5 years of working with women, helping them be able to find their voice of why them, why work with them, they are the product. So you have to learn how to position yourself because you're selling you. Does that make sense?
That is so interesting, Julie, because, I have a product line. Okay, I have formulated all my products. I have had them come through dreams, I've had them come intuitively, and the spirit of that is so connected with me. And so, what you're talking about, I haven't had that experience per se. It's kind of been the reverse, for me. But now, as I'm stepping out more, doing podcasts, YouTubes, working more collectively this way, um, that's a whole different niche. Okay,
Yeah.
niche. Well,
Yeah.
we say it differently, but it's yeah. This is like, but yet it's expanding. It's transitioning part of what I've already done.
Yeah.
Although
Yeah.
nothing's ever really over, is it? It
No,
just
no,
continues to,
totally.
expand. So, oh, this is so beautiful.
Well, and you think about it, it's like, listen, there are a lot of people that do whatever it is that we do. There
Yeah.
just are. We're not the only, I'm not the only coach, there's not the only healer. There's not like, there's so many. We are designed though to work with a specific sliver of humanity. They're meant
Yes.
to be our people, right? And we are meant for them. We're not meant for everybody. And
Mhm.
so the more we are this is what I mean about we are our own niche, we are our own brand, we are the product, right? We must attract our people, and what happens is when we aren't being truly authentic to who we are, what happens is we'll attract the wrong people that aren't our tribe. They're not in the same energy frequency that we're in, and it can cause a lot of problems. I know when I first started, I thought I had to be a certain way and offer certain things, and I attracted people that I wasn't meant to really work with. And the more I've gotten clear on my convictions, on what my voice has to say, on what it is I want to teach and how I want to help people, and this is who I am, the more I've attracted that person that is actually who I'm meant to help and work with. And so we really are our niche. We want to go out and try to find our niche and figure out what our niche is. The better you understand you, the better you're going to understand who you're meant to help and serve and how.
And that's a meaningful, fulfilling life when we tap into that. Now, you have come up with a process to help people get a little more clarity about that. Would you please explain that a little bit?
Well, it's changed. It's changed over the years. I will tell you that,
Okay.
I would work with some women and boom, they'd get it and they'd move on. And then others were still stuck. And so in the last, I guess, 18 months, I'm always on the hunt for a tool, a modality, something that's going to help me help my clients, right?
Yeah,
Help me help my
right.
clients.
Mhm,
Because here's the thing.
mhm,
No one knows them. No one knows you better than yourself, right? I can never know someone else fully because I'm not in their body. I haven't experienced their life. All of those things.
mhm,
So I can ask questions, sure.
mhm,
But it's so important. I've learned over the course of these last 5 years that the more a woman can understand themselves, their strengths, their genius, their gifts, the more clarity they get, the more convictions they get, the more belief.
mhm,
Because what in again, most of the women that I work with are selling services or selling that, they deliver. It's not a product necessarily. So what happens is that order for someone to pay them to say, I want to hire you, the exchange of money is belief. That's all it is. Because it's
mhm,
not like, again,
mhm,
product where I'm going to show you, I'm going to put it on, you're going to see what it looks like, you're going to decide, is this something I want or not, right? You can see it. When it's a service, like, hey, I want to be your coach, I want to mentor you, I want to, help you with your business or whatever, they can't know what that's actually like until they're working with me, until they're working with someone, right? So what happens? The way money exchanges is just belief. It's like, all right, I believe you're going to be able to help me, so here's the money, right? But guess who has to believe first? The woman. You got to believe first, right? So if I'm going to try to sell someone on working with me, I've got to believe so strongly
mhm,
in myself, in what I offer, and
mhm,
that I can help them. And I find that a lot of people struggle with that belief and then it impacts their marketing and sales. It has to, because it is all the belief has to start with the person doing the marketing and selling. So,
Right.
what started to happen is I started to see a lot of women were struggling with that belief, with really knowing what their zone of genius was, what their gifts were. And so that is when actually I brought in human design as a tool to help women understand their own energetic blueprint, their own perfect divine design, right? I really believe this is like a very strong conviction that I have that we are perfectly designed to do specific work in the world and help a specific slice of humanity. But we've wandered far. I don't know if you've ever read the books by Florence Scovel Shinn. She's one of my favorites. Yes, The Game of Life. I just adore her. We all know Napoleon Hill, but she was writing books around that time as well, and
Oh my
not as many
goodness.
people know her.
In the 1800s. I mean,
Yes,
oh
huge
my,
fan.
yeah, yeah.
Huge fan. And I've adopted some of her language, right? So she talks about that we have a divine design. Those are her
Yes.
words. She talks about perfect self-expression. You just shared it a little while ago too, that when we're doing the work that we love, that's perfect self-expression.
Mhm,
That is prosperity.
mhm,
When you are operating in perfect self-expression of what you're here to do, oh, everything else falls into place, right? But here's the thing also Florence's words, she said that most have wandered far
mhm,
from their divine design. Most
mhm,
have wandered far. I felt like I wandered far for 2 decades, and it's this magic that happens when you actually get into alignment with your divine design, your perfect self-expression. So I brought in human design because it's actually a physical view. Like you can literally see in your body graph what your divine design is,
mhm,
what your strengths are. I've had women that now use this tool. They're like, I have my oldest client, she's 80, and she said, now that I really understand these strengths, these gifts, what I'm here to do, I will not die. These are her words. I will not die. I will not leave this planet until more of this is coming out and through me.
oh,
Beautiful. That's confidence. That's clarity,
that's
right? So
clarity.
it's almost like holding up a mirror
Mhm,
to these women with their human design to help them actually see themselves
mhm,
in a way they haven't been able to see themselves before. It's when I look at my design, it's my fight song. I'm like, okay, this is my map of what I'm here to do in this world. And I am not going to stop, like ever
mhm.
to fulfill that life's work. And so my process
Yeah.
has changed over time as I've because I always tell my clients this. I always am trying to help my clients have a bigger breakthrough.
Mhm,
Always. I have clients that have been with me for 4.5 years at this point,
mhm,
right? They never want to leave. They just love because we're constantly growing and going deeper. But am in the constant quest. It's
mhm,
actually how I found Bob Proctor initially. It's I was in the quest
mhm,
of helping my clients see themselves for who they really are,
mhm,
how the universe sees them, not how they see themselves after however many years they've been on the planet with all the conditioning. It's like being able to help them. And so all through the years I've tried to bring in tools, modalities, ways to help them be able to see themselves that way and see the work they're meant to do. And really in these last 18 months have gone all in on
mhm,
human design. I'm in an extensive certification program, multi-year certification program, because I'm so dedicated to helping women do the work they were meant to do. So as I said in the very beginning, that's never changed. And being able to see what that work is, to
mhm.
see what their genius is and to step into it. And so my clarity tool of choice and the process that I now use 100% includes human design.
Okay, so for people who don't understand, it's a way that you ask questions specifically, and we all have certain numbers, and those numbers mean something. I know what wee little bit someone took me through this process. Tommy Collier took
Yeah.
me through it just briefly. And Oh my goodness. Knowing what my number is, 6, and I think it was 2, um,
Mhm.
that why it helped me to understand how important it is for me to create every day. I am forever thinking about what I can create next. It's, that settled so much inside of me, but it also taught me, Julie, a lot of people are putting energy and time into things. It's not where they're to be. It's not part of what will serve them the best. And your process, your program could really help a person not waste months and years of their
Yes.
life, but yet become more fulfilling, right?
100%. And what Tommy shared with you is like a sliver of
Yeah.
the thing. It's like it's it's so here's the thing. Listen,
Okay.
we have to empower ourselves, right?
Mhm.
I can't go and do the work for my client, right? I can teach. We live in a time where everyone just wants to know the how, right? It's like, oh, I want to start a business. I want it to replace my day job. How do I do it? Right?
Mhm.
Everyone just wants
Right.
to know the how. And how sells. It sells a lot. It's why people have made gazillions of dollars on the internet by selling the how, right? Here's how you do marketing. Here's how you grow Instagram. Here's how you create a course. Here's how, right? Everything's how. But in any single one of those courses, programs, teachings, you're going to get a percentage of people that do what was taught and get results. And you're going to have most people not do it and not get the results. Why? Has nothing to do with the strategy. The strategy works. If it works for one person, it works. Okay. It's not about that. It's that all these things you can't see that are causing the problem,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
their motivation, their drive, maybe it's the wrong kind of tactic that doesn't really feel right to them because they're not meant to go do that kind of marketing and sales. They're meant to do this marketing and sales. And it's like it, it's not all the how, it's about who we be, right? It's not what we do. It's the being doing the doing and doing the right set of activities that are right for you. And so it's all comes down to self-responsibility and self-empowerment. The better you know you, the better you know what, like energetically, how you're wired, the
Mhm.
better you understand how others respond to you, how others see you, all of those things. And the better you know it for yourself, the more success you're going to have in whatever it is you go and do. And that's the big thing that we really focus on. And it's why I really think of what I do as being a teacher
Mhm.
more so than a coach now,
Yeah.
because I want to teach people and they've got to study. They got to study themselves. Because when they do, they're going to know how to make the right decisions. They're going to know what's right for them. They're going to step fully into their perfect self expression. I can't do that for them. Right. And so it's just been so much fun watching these women start to see themselves in this really, I call it the way, again, the universe, God, source sees us, exponential potential. We've got this incredible potential. We're never done,
No,
ever.
no.
And we can't see what that is always.
Mhm.
We're very limiting in how we see ourselves. And that's why I'm obsessed with human design, because it actually can give you an image, a picture, a self image, if you will, of what you really are and what you're really capable of. That's what's so powerful to me.
It I just have this vision of this really meek, soft, humble woman, whatever. And then she's waking up out of her cocoon. Okay? And like, really? Wow. This is, I can do this, and this is, more of who I am. And then we come into our really divine superpowers.
You got it.
Okay. And that's the magic that just starts opening up and what we start creating. And I mean, it just continually expands into more greatness. Um, I would love to hear about your recent retreat and the renewal that you just went through, because these are really important steps too along this path that we're taking.
Yeah, about the trip I just went on and kind of
Yeah. Uh-huh.
yeah. So, I have to start it with this.
Yes.
When I was making that decision to leave IBM, and
Hmm.
I had made a lot of money at IBM, we had just recently gone on, back then in 2016, had gone on this like very expensive family trip to St. Martin and all these things. And I remember thinking, am I going to be able to take my family on a trip again? Like, if I'm leaving all this money and I don't know what's going to come with this business, I had college to think about. And I just remember, going, oh, I think it's all going to play out, but I just don't know what that's going to look like. To, most recently go on this incredible vacation with my oldest child, my daughter, who is studying in Italy. So she's studying abroad. She's almost done with college now. She's got 1 year left of college. I remember being so nervous about, am I going to be able to pay for college, right? Because in the US, I mean, it's a lot of money. And being so nervous, am I going to be able to pay for college? Am I being a bad mother leaving IBM where I know I'd be able to pay for her college, and so it was so scary. And now here we are, 6 years later, and here she is. She's going to graduate in a year. I've got another one who's now also in college at the same time right now, and she went to study abroad, and that wasn't a problem. And she's been studying in Italy for an entire semester. And we planned for me to go over there. And I really designed my business in a way where I can leave it and I can take a vacation. I can take a retreat. I can leave and it's not going to all fall apart. I've got a team. We had sales still coming in while I was gone. It was just beautiful. But I was able to really unplug and be so present and in the moment with my daughter traveling through Italy. It was absolutely incredible. And I literally was in so many moments of gratitude,
Mhm.
but gratitude to the version of Julie that made really big
Mhm.
decisions, scary decisions, decisions that, I had fear that I'd never be able to do something like this trip that I was on. And we really did the trip the way we wanted to do it. I wanted a driver that was going to take us to different towns on the Amalfi Coast. I didn't want to have to like get stressed in line for the bus and all these things. And I just wanted it to be a trip where it was all about her and I being able to be together and enjoying every minute together. And it really was that. And the reflection, two big things that came out of this for me was one, that gratitude of trusting in myself,
Mhm.
becoming self-empowered, making my own decisions, owning that narrative of what I wanted my life to look like. And the other big epiphany that happened was my definition of prosperity has changed dramatically
Mhm.
in the course of, I mean, over my whole life, but really ever since I became an entrepreneur, I was like, oh, the business has to make this amount of money and get to this next level and then this next level. And I want to be paying myself this and just like on this race, almost kind of where I was back in corporate. And and I've really changed my perspective on what prosperity is. Yes, wealth is a component, right? So health, wealth, happiness. I mean, those are kind of the three buckets of prosperity: health, wealth, and happiness. There's a fourth one that's more important than anything else. And it actually, when you're doing that, the
Mhm.
other three take care of themselves. And that's perfect self-expression.
Oh,
When
Julie,
you,
I love
right?
that.
Right? When you do what you
Yes.
were meant to do, that's
Yes.
prosperity. That's where health, that's where the wealth, that's where all the happiness stems from, which then affects your relationships and all the things. And that
Mhm.
staying true to that is something that I value now
Mhm.
more than ever before, is this perfect self-expression. So thank you, Florence, for that term, because that's what means more to me than anything. And I want it for my children too. I want them to be able to live their life in perfect self-expression.
Oh my God, Julie, I love that. I that was worth everything, whatever you've gone through, to get to that point. You say at the end of your site, you are perfectly designed by God, the universe, to fulfill your mission. And really, it goes align with what you just said.
Yep. Perfectly designed. We're all different for a reason,
Yes.
and it's like we all try to conform. I chuckle because when I very first started being a business coach, I seemed to attract a lot of people that were in network marketing. So in network marketing, direct sales, and they were like, the way it's taught in that industry is replication, duplication, do whatever, like do the exact same things in the exact same way that the person ahead of you did it. And if you do that, you'll have success. BS. No way. In fact, in every single one of those companies, only 10% of people have success. It's nothing wrong with the business model. It's fantastic. It's a beautiful business model. They're teaching it the wrong way because we're all so different. We're energetically so different. We have very different geniuses and things, and people experience us all in different ways. So you cannot replicate and duplicate. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for most people. And so that industry to me is such a great example of the reality of this, that when you step into your own authority, you do things your way, the way you are perfectly designed to do them for people to experience you. We're all so energetic. It's like why one person can do cold calling and it works really well. And for another person, it's a disaster. It's not because cold calling doesn't work or works or doesn't. It's the person doing it. We're
Yeah.
energetically wired different ways. And it's so beautiful to help women get into alignment with the way that their energy must come out, because that's what marketing and sales is. It's just energy, right? It's just energy. Your words are energy. Your marketing is energy. Your emails are energy. Is it in alignment? Because if it's
Mhm.
not, it's going to fall flat.
And that's what makes you one of the most unique coaches in assisting and helping women of what you just talked about.
Thank
It's
you.
not a cookie cutter situation.
No,
It's,
I will never teach one way,
yeah,
ever.
you have that gift. And I would really like you to share how people could get in touch with you. And I want to recommend that anybody listening, you want to get on her website. There are 3 ways to work with Julie, and we won't go into that right now, but it is specifically on your website really well. And Julie, how can they reach you? Because really every woman needs to reach you. This is
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, first of all, I'm a big fan of connecting with people. It's like we live in this world of everything digital and virtual. And, right now there's so many people listening to this in your earbuds. Take a screenshot of it and tag me. Are you on Instagram, Judy?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Put it on Instagram, tag us, let us know maybe something that came from this. You could, if you don't want to post it publicly, reach out to me on the DMs and the direct messages of Instagram. Let me know what was a big takeaway, what was a highlight. Let's have a conversation. That is like because I could easily say, oh, go follow me here or go
Mm.
connect with me. That to me, that's the most powerful way, right? Connect with me. Let me know. But of course, I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn. You can check out the website. But also, if you're listening to this, you probably like podcasts. I have a podcast. It's called Brand. And it's a combination of me sharing things, but also I interview female founders and then I analyze their human design. So it's really fun. So go and check out the podcast as well. But definitely connect. I feel like if something hit you, resonated with you in some way, definitely reach out and let me know. I'd love to hear from you.
This is beautiful. Oh, Julie, what a wonderful show today. I'm just so thankful. I look forward to talking with you more in the near future, and the best of the best of the best to you forever and ever. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for having this podcast. Like I said in the very beginning, this is how you're changing lives by people listening to these interviews, these stories, hearing your wisdom. That is just so magnificent. So thank you for having the show and having me on.